This is Mrs. McQuestion, and today I'm going to help you learn about plot and key details. These are some important tools that we need to have as readers when we read a text. Let's look about plot first. First, we need to know what this word plot means. So what is plot? Plot is what we call the events that happen in a story and the order that they happen in. So if you'll look over here, we have a train, we have the engine, and that's the beginning of our story. We have some cars in the middle, that's the middle, and the caboose is what happens at the end of our story. That's a good visual for us to think of when we are thinking about plot, because beginning, middle, end are the three important pieces in every story that you read. In second grade, we are focusing on plot being the beginning, middle, and end. This is another visual that you could think about. Beginning is the watermelon is full. Middle, they have cut it in half, so you're going through the stages. And the end, you get to eat the watermelon. So we have beginning, middle, and end, and they have to stay in this order. So first, at the very beginning, we are getting an introduction to our story. This is where we're going to learn about our characters and our setting, and it's setting up the story for the events that are going to happen later on. Second, during the middle of our story, that's when important events are happening. Usually, in fiction stories, there's a problem that is getting introduced during the middle. So usually when the problem is introduced, it is sometime in the middle of our story. And then at the end, we are concluding the actions that have happened throughout the story. Usually that means if there was a problem happening to our characters, that the problem is resolved. That means they solve the problem and everything turns out okay. Maybe in some stories, the problem doesn't get solved, and that is also concluding the action because either it gets solved or it doesn't. Today, we're going to look at a story where the problem does get solved. So we'll have to think about that when we read it. So they are always in the same order. First beginning, second middle, and third is the end. One other thing we have to think about when we're reading fiction and when we're thinking about the plot is key details. We've been practicing quite a few times writing down key details from our stories, but today I want to show you a good example of this. So when we find key details, we are asking questions. You guys have become pretty good at asking questions to figure out what's going on in the story. But I just want to remind you of our question words. We have who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those are question words that we can start our questions with to help us better understand what we read. And so when we have our key details, when we've answered our questions, we will understand the main idea in the story a little bit better. We will understand what the author is trying to teach us. And so today, we're going to put these two things together. We're going to talk about our plot of a story and the key details. So I'm going to show you with your worksheets that you're familiar with, but I want to make sure that we totally understand what we're doing. And so let's see the story we're going to read today. This story is called The Lion and the Mouse. You may have heard this story before, but some of you may not have, so I'm excited for you to hear this story. It's pretty short, so we will read it pretty quickly. But before we read, remember we practice our skills of asking questions. So I'm going to ask myself some questions before I even get started. I see that there's an illustration. It could be the cover of the story, but for this story it's short, so it's just the top. And when I saw this illustration, I immediately was wondering, Why is there a lion trapped in a net? How did he get trapped there? Do you hear my question words? I said why, and I said how. I see this looks like a mouse, and when I look at the title, it looks like my characters are probably going to be a lion and a mouse. And so I can see both my characters here on the screen. That is a great way to get started every time you read, is to look at some illustrations. Illustrations give us a lot of extra information that will help us understand what's going on in the story. I'm noticing some grass and some plants in the corner. They're probably in a jungle, in a rainforest, in some kind of grassy area. And it looks like maybe the mouse is doing something with the rope. I wonder what he is doing. What is this mouse doing? Still asking questions. All right, let's read. While we're reading, I'm probably going to pause and go to our worksheet so I can show you how to fill those things in. A lion lay asleep in the forest. His great head resting on his paws. A timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, ran across the lion's nose. Roused from his nap, the lion laid his huge paw angrily on the tiny creature to kill her. "Spare me," begged the poor mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." We're going to stop and we're going to go fill in some of our worksheet. Let's see. We have 2 worksheets that you'll work on this week. You've seen both of these before. Instead of drawing today, I'm just going to type in my answers. I'm going to use black. I'll keep it blue so you can see. So far, I know my main characters are the lion and the mouse. I haven't heard of any other characters getting introduced. So I saw that it could be, let's go back and check our text. Oh, it does say right here, forest. So I'm going to say that my setting is a forest. Okay, I don't see anything else about the setting. Maybe we can write what happened at the beginning. The lion was taking a nap. And the mouse ran across his nose. So that is the main point of what happened at the beginning of our story. Remember, we talked about beginning, middle, and end being the parts of our plot. Let's go ahead and keep reading. So the mouse has said, "Spare me," begged the poor mouse. "Please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." The lion was much amused, so he was surprised, and it made him laugh that the mouse could ever help him. But he was generous and finally let the mouse go. Some days later, while stalking his prey in the forest, the lion was caught in the toils of a hunter's net. So he was caught in a net. Unable to free himself, he filled the forest with his angry roaring. The mouse knew the voice and quickly found the lion struggling in the net. Running to one of the great ropes that bound him, she gnawed until it parted, and soon the lion was free. "You laughed when I said I would repay you," said the mouse. "Now you see that even a mouse can help a lion." Let's go fill in some more information. So we can see in the middle of the story, that the lion let the mouse go. Later, the lion got caught in a net. He shouted for help. I'm gonna make sure you guys can see those. And so at the end, we saw, let's go back and look. Okay, so the mouse came to help him and gnawed, so she chewed on the ropes until they broke apart and the lion was free. And then the mouse is saying, now you can see that even a mouse who's so tiny can help a big lion. So let's see what happened at the end. At the end of the story, the mouse came and chewed through the ropes. The lion was free. The mouse helped the big lion, even though she was small. See how I used up my line, but I wanted to put some more information, so I just let it go beyond the line. Don't be afraid to add more if you need to. So we can look over again and see what happened at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So at the beginning, this is kind of like a summary. I'm going to summarize what happened in the story. The lion was taking a nap, and the mouse ran across his nose. Oh, we can even add here, because we need to know what happened with the mouse. The lion hit the mouse with his paw and caught her. We need to have that extra piece. Okay, what happened in the middle? The lion let the mouse go. Later, the lion got caught in a net, and he shouted for help. The last things that happened at the end of the story, the mouse came and chewed through the ropes. The lion was free. The mouse helped the big lion even though she was small. So this is how we filled out our plot. So I'm going to write the word plot right here so we can remember. Plot includes our characters, our setting, beginning, middle, end. Those are the important things that we need to remember every time we read a fiction story. Let's look really quickly about our main idea or topic, and then the details that help us understand this better. So let's look back at our story. And I think down here, they kind of put a moral. A moral is a lesson that we can learn. It says, a kindness is never wasted. So in this story, the lion was kind to the mouse, and he was repaid later on in the story by the mouse. So I think the main idea or topic we could say is being kind to others pays off. And what else happened in the story is a mouse repays the kindness of a lion. And usually in the animal kingdom, lions and mice are not friends. And so this story kind of takes that idea and changes our perspective and helps us think about how we can be kind to others when they are kind to us. So how kindness can repay kindness to each other. So right here, a mouse repays the kindness of a lion. We have to figure out what details support that idea. So we did write down some details over here at our beginning, middle, and end. we can write down the things that kind of happen to support that idea. So I'm going to think of a question I can ask. I can say, what is the problem or what is going on that is a problem in this story? So at the beginning, the mouse was caught by a lion. The lion let her go. That is an important key detail we need to know to understand this story. And then another thing we need to think about is that the mouse said she would repay that kindness. So I put two details in one box. Now I can think about, we could do this kind of like beginning, middle, and end. Just make sure you have in all the details that are important to the story and don't leave any out. So another detail is that the lion was caught in a net and needed help. If you look and you notice, I'm writing in complete sentences. I'm making sure I have a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end. I'm having a complete thought, so I have a subject and a verb to complete my sentence. So another detail that we need to write down is, is the mouse heard him and chewed or gnawed through the rope. So we could say, the mouse heard the lion and helped him. That is like what happened. And we could say how it happened. So how it happened was she chewed through the net. Remember, we get our key details by asking questions. So I asked a couple of questions here. I asked, what happened? So the mouse helped him. And how did it happen? Was she chewed through the net. It wasn't just magically open. We had to know how. So let's look at the very end. The mouse is saying that you laughed when I said I would repay you. So maybe the lion didn't believe her. That was kind of at the beginning. So maybe you can write down here, the lion did not believe the mouse could repay him. That's a good detail to include with this section, because that's when we talked about the mouse was saying she would be kind. Alrighty. So it came true. The mouse kept her promise to help the lion later. That's a very important part of this story because it helps us understand this topic or idea that the author wants to teach us. That the mouse is repaying the kindness and that being kind to others can help us out later on. Okay, so I think that's enough details for us of this story. We asked a lot of questions. We asked what happened, how did it happen, different things like that. Make sure you're asking these questions when you read. Thank you guys so much for listening. And on your work this week, if you get stuck when you're filling out one of these 2 pages, one of either this one about the plot or this one about the key details, you can come back and watch this video again to help you. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.